It is race day at Silverstone. Welcome everybody to the 2026 British GT Championship. The Silverstone 500 kicks off the season. Rare for Silverstone to host the opening round. Last time was back in 2001, but we are set for a fascinating 3-hour race, and this warm-up session is the last 15 minutes that the teams have on a rather chilly morning to get the cars dialed in for the race this afternoon. Pit lane has been busy with the teams bringing GT3 and GT4 cars onto the apron. The fast lane is open for the GT3 cars to make their way on track. Yesterday was really busy for qualifying day. Lots of fans in Brighton early. They've already had one single-seater race to watch, and now the GT warm-up. And the teams, as you see, now start to put the Pirelli tyres onto cars, including the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan of Rob Collard and Hugo Cook. David Addison and Joe Osborne trackside, Bryn Lucas in the pit lane. Joe, here we go. It is all bets off really this weekend. No form to go on other than what we saw perhaps last year, but it's going to be a really interesting opener to the season. Yeah, qualifying showed that, didn't it? In both classes, but particularly GT3, 4 manufacturers inside the top 4, as we see Kieran Jewis there. He topped free practice 2, and the reason I say that is this is kind of what this session will be like. With the allocation of tyres, the teams are allowed 6 sets. It's all about saving as many for the race. So this morning warm-up, they will not use any fresh rubber. I suspect they will use their oldest tyres out the 6. So the free practice 2 was the same form, so maybe let's see how the Mercedes does of Jewis on this older tyre. Is there much you can achieve in a warm-up session? I mean, there's one argument that says you can only break the car, but in terms of a team working through processes, you're not chasing a lap time, but what could you achieve? You could achieve writing the car off, like you said, that's positive. But no, the teams now, the first... It is interesting, like you said, David, Silverstone rarely has the first race. Normally by the time we get to Silverstone, teams are a bit more well-versed with their pit stop procedure, driver changes. So maybe we're going to see a few more pit stop practices in this warm-up than usual. Gives the driver a chance to attack the line coming in so they don't lose any time, and likewise leaving and everything like that as well. Number 15 is the Mercedes of Andrew Gilbert and Aaron Walker. Aaron, one of the drivers in the new SRO Academy for silver-graded drivers under the age of 30. Charles Clark, Luke Garlick, Josh Rowledge, Jared Weberski are also in the SRO GT Academy, and that's something that runs globally for SRO with an eye on the next generation of young GT talent. Gaspar Simon was last year's winner. He's already in GT World Challenge Europe. That car, Andrew Gilbert and Aaron Walker share. It is at the moment Andrew Gilbert driving it, but Aaron Walker, his co-driver, is one of those in that SRO GT Academy, which is a great idea. It's a phenomenal initiative for that sort of younger, wanting to be pro silver graded driver. I wish it was around when I was that age, so I didn't have to go beg, steal and borrow to get myself through the ranks. And yeah, it's just another illustration of what a good job SRO do at reinvesting the money. GT racing has never been in better health, but it's important that we keep the foundation stable, and those younger pro drivers are kind of lapping it up now, aren't they? Especially as the single-seater route seems to be getting even harder to make a living by getting to the top, the pinnacle of the single-seater route. GT racing opens them with welcome, warm arms. And so much GT racing, whether it's GT3, the quicker cars here, GT4, which kind of think of as the subordinate class. That's a little bit unfair because GT4 is still a hugely competitive category and arguably harder to drive because they don't have the same aero. Into the pit lane comes Andrew Gilbert. So here's something else you can achieve in the warm-up. Practice pit stops, good for the driver change, good for the team to get used to them. Kieran Jewis and Charles Dawson there with the backs to you, the last year's champions. They're not doing a full season in Britain. They're guesting here because it's a nice long 3-hour race, lots of mileage available, but they're doing GT World Challenge Europe. They excelled last year, and 2Cs, the Anglo-Bahraini team running the car. You can see him ready to get the drivers in. So all the marginal gains, you see the driver of Jewis getting in, his helmet cable up on his helmet on the Velcro. So Dawson can just put that in. Dawson's was hanging down because he's just got out of the car, so it's not needed. So all of those things have been drilled way before this warm-up session, but this is the first time it feels like it's in anger. And when you do things in anger, of course, things go differently. You can sometimes slip up. I'm trying not to be biased in saying this about Silverstone, but it is an absolutely perfect circuit for GT cars. They can stretch their legs, it's nice and wide. You know, we go to other venues that are drivers' circuits, to use the phrase, but they're narrower, it's harder to overtake. But here, it's just a lovely flowing circuit for them. Yeah, will you ever find a driver that doesn't enjoy driving the Silverstone GP? I think not. The only drivers that would not enjoy it are the ones that are at the back end of the grid normally, the
pretty fickle animals, drivers, and this is that driver change, driver change and tyre change now going on. So the format of the pit stops in British GT still quite unique to the rest of the world. It's a British thing we like to do everything slightly differently. The fuel can only happen by itself, and then once that's finished, driver change and tyres happen at once.
We'll worry about driving stints and the like when we actually get to the race, but there's a lot for the teams to stay on top of in terms of a maximum drive time, how you reset the stint, which is not like Europe where you can just drive down through the pit lane. A stint reset has to be stopping, turning off the engine and restarting. And if the same driver is within it, then it all counts as part of one long stint. There is some of the background to what we have later on. 3 hours. You can do 65 minutes as the maximum stint time. You've got to have 3 pit stops, and each regulation pit stop must have refueling and or a driver change. And the maximum total is 1 hour and 40 minutes. Pit stop times, quicker for GT3, 115 seconds to the 145 of a GT4 car. But if you're in the silver category in GT4, then it's 151, because you cop an extra 6 seconds. And therefore, they are looking for a late safety car to try to bring them back into the game. Well, we've just looked at the Barwell Motorsport pit stop. The man that presides over Barwell Motorsport is the redoubtable Mark Lemmer. And Mark Lemmer is in the pits with Bryn Lucas.
Yeah, thanks very much there, David. Mark Lemmer is here, as you say. Mark, it's a start of a new season, always very exciting, and a very different start to the season because it starts with a 3-hour where all the strategy comes in.
Yeah, I think everyone's feeling a bit of pressure starting with the big Silverstone 500. It'd be nice. It was always nice to ease our way in with a couple of 1-hour races, but also it's nice. I mean, it is a big event, so it means that everyone has to be on their A game right from the word go.
I mean, more points up for grabs when you come down to these longer races. You don't have the benefit of getting through that 1-hour race and then pit stop compensation coming in straight after as well. So there is more riding on this one.
Yeah, it's a big points race, but it's also quite a complicated race. And it's changed slightly its nature over the years since four-course yellow's come in. There's more opportunity for strategy. And the last 2 years, this race has been won on strategy, not just pace. So, but you still have to be fast. So it's a great way to kick the season off.
Certainly is. Thanks very much there, Mark. A quick nudge though, by the way, the 63, so Rob and Hugo's car had a new gearbox after practice yesterday, a bit of a whiny gearbox there, so they've taken it out and they've replaced it. That was ahead of qualifying. So just to give you some idea, some work already done on that Barwell car.
Bryn, thanks very much. A whiny gearbox doesn't sound like a great start to the weekend, but as you say, they changed that for qualifying, and in the end, the Barwell Lamborghini was third on the aggregated times of both Rob Collard and Hugo Cook yesterday. You're looking there at number 8 Porsche, Tom Bradshaw, last year's Porsche Sprint Challenge champion, which is the One Make Series 4 Caymans. He's behind the wheel of the car that he shares with Ian Duggan. Behind is the next Barwell Lamborghini, the Duncan Cameron Matt Griffin example. Mark Lemmer being unusually tight-lipped, though. You kind of get the feeling that it is all a bit pressured this morning for the teams.
Yeah, I did my walk around this morning trying to tap some of the teams up for potential strategy, and
how did that go?
It went well. I like playing this poacher gamekeeper all at once, and there's some different theories at play, shall we say. Barwell have always been strong with where they've gone, and I think that's why Mark was quite tight-lipped. He's frustrated at the regulations coming in, because Barwell always seem to roll the dice and come out up on top. And now the regulations are that much tighter, the team's having to work harder, looking for loopholes in those regulations to see if they can gain the advantage in this pit stop phase of this 3-hour race.
And there is number 63, Rob Collard, Hugo Cook's Barwell Run Lamborghini. And that car currently is, as you see, having a practice pit stop driver change. And Rob Collard, twice a British GT champion. Another car to watch in GT4, this Aston Martin. Number 21 is the Will Orton Jess Hawkins car. Will Orton behind the wheel of it. And that went well in qualifying yesterday. Certainly Will Orton was rapid. And between them, they got the car to third in GT4.
Yeah, they'll be happy with that. But another silver pairing that you're talking about, David, and that is going to be hard for them, isn't it? If there isn't a safety car to bunch them back up, we see that being a problem. And Will Orton very steady here. I know that's a GT3 car, but we're either bringing in a set of cold tyres, which would be rare in British GT, they are allowed tyre ovens, or we're just bedding a set of pads or brake discs in to get us through the race. So when you get brand new brakes, just want to bring them up to temperature slowly. And to me, that looks like what's happening in that Aston Martin. It's very tentative. You can see we're rolling out the throttle as we hit the brakes here for Vale. You just want to bring them up. If you go too quick on the brakes, you can overheat the discs and create some cracks while the core is cold and the outside is hot.
And Club corner here is a long corner, sort of 2 bites at the apex, but you've got to be so patient, haven't you? You nail the throttle too early, it just pushes you out wide. And these days, rather than lots of run-off tarmac that we had initially for F1, now there's a big gravel track with its arms outstretched for you.
Yeah, and it's a soft one. I've been there a few times, and you only go further away from the track, which is frustrating. And there is a track limit possibility of attracting a penalty there. You can see driver in the car just tightening their belts, talking to the engineer, saying, "I'm ready." The engineer is then looking at a timer in the dash to see when that goes to 0, they'll release to make sure they don't go under that minimum pit stop time of 145 seconds for GT4.
And they also need to be mindful of that 50 kilometres an hour speed limit down the pit lane. This is the car that's on pole in GT4, the Tom Holland, Hadley Simpson Ginetta. Tom Holland was a real star in that yesterday.
Yeah, he got it by the scruff of the neck, didn't he? And Hadley Simpson looked like he didn't quite have the pace to do it, and then at the last moment took it to pole position. And yeah, they were very happy. And so they should. New team to British GT in Innovation Racing. But again, a car going tentatively around this circuit, so maybe some teams also using this morning warm-up just to make sure they've got the brakes to get them through this 3-hour race.
At the moment, it's rather BMW based in terms of the pointy end of the times, but how much you want to read into this discuss. Charles Clark for Century, Ian Loggy for Paradigm, BMW drivers both, they are the top 2. Interesting that number 6 BMW has got itself there. Again, not everybody has done a lap time, so don't think this is going to be the way it will be in the race necessarily. But when I spoke to Phil Keane last night, who's the other driver of number 6, Ian Loggy's car, he was saying that he'd gone the wrong way a little bit on setup and tried a few things that hadn't worked. So he was quite disappointed with qualifying pace. Might be a bit more heartened this morning. 61 in the background is Ernie Graham. Very successful rally driver is Ernie, predominantly in historic rallying, but he's done some historic BMW circuit racing. And co-driver, Colin Turkington. So Ernie new to British GT, Colin Turkington new to British GT, and the team running the car, WSR, Dick Bennett's team, new to British GT as well. They've had a great track record of Dick Bennett, BMW and Colin Turkington over the years in the British Touring Car Championship. Dick's relationship with BMW goes all the way back to 1979 when he was a mechanic for Ron Dennis' Project 4 rather team on Nicky Lauda's Pro Car.
That's a pretty good relationship to keep going into British GT then, as we go on board with a bigger sister brother, depending on how you look at it, GT3 BMW M4. This car pole position, overall stonking job by Darren Lung in that Q1, wasn't it? That really cemented it for his teammate Dan Harper to really just stroke it home for a pole position. This car, obviously winners last year at Silverstone. They love this place. The car seems to love it as well, and great to see Parodyne coming in, maybe even if it's just a one-off entry.
Yeah, Darren Lung busy in the World Endurance Championship. Dan Harper busy in everything. He's already won his class in the Daytona 24 Hours and in the opening WEC World Endurance Championship round. And he inherited, but won the opening NLS Nordschleife Endurance round. So it's been an amazing start to the season for Dan Harper. Quickest now has got number 3, McLaren, Garnet Patterson at the wheel of the Optimum car, the Australian driver. And the session has got just about 3 more minutes to run. Some teams concentrating on what's on track, some concentrating on pit lane processes, doing those driver changes and doing practice pit stops. 78 is going to be a car to watch as well. Alex Martin, who's excelled in GT3, and Jared Weberski moving from BMW to Lamborghini for this year, and he's also been impressive. Yeah,
Barwell raving about him. And actually, when I kind of did a straw poll on my morning walk with teams, who do you think is going to win today? This car came up the most, and it looks like an outsider potentially, doesn't it, with its qualifying position being outside the top 4. But I think, like you've said, David, both drivers very strong, team strong, car strong. I think this is one to watch at the end of the 3-hour race.
And as you were saying, Barwell knows how to win this race. OK, the regulations may be tweaked and tightened, but there are some very good brains in that camp. They've got 3 cars to worry about, though, so there is going to be a huge amount of effort going on at Barwell. For Century Motorsport, this is Jonathan Beeson and Charles Clark's BMW, and it's Jonathan Beeson at the wheel of the car. Jonathan, who's another driver coming into the championship new this year. He's been racing Porsches for the last few seasons, the Cheshire driver, and having raced in Porsche Sprint Challenge and Britcar, he then moved to Carrera Cup. So liked big, powerful cars, but switching to the BMW away from Porsches now for the first time. Sadly, we don't have a Porsche within the entry thus far this year. In GT3, that is.
Yeah, it's, again, a car that's not always gone well in British. It's strange, isn't it? You touched on earlier how Silverstone's great, fast and flowing, but the tighter, twistier circuits just have a slightly different nature to which cars prefer it. And it seems like the GT3 Porsche isn't one of those, as we see Kevin Say looking on.
And let's quickly head to the pit lane. Bryn, I think, has news for us. Bryn?
Right, info for you, but I was just talking to Kevin Say about the way he performed yesterday, and he said he was a bit disappointed with P5. He said it's really in his head. It's a kind of a mind game problem he's got going on there. But he expects, or he came into this season expecting to do better than last year. He is pretty consistent, as you know, but he's got the pressure on his own shoulders that he's put it on himself to really go for the title. So I think that's really getting into his head. New teammate as well this season, so he's got to get used to Ben Green. But they seem to have adapted very well to start with, as long as he can get his head into the zone.
Interesting. So there you can see the Hong Kong driver, Tsai Wing Kin, or Kevin Tsai, as he prefers to be known. Lots of the Chinese and Hong Kong drivers sort of westernise their names, and it's Kevin Tsai as we know him over here. Very good in GT3, also has raced in the GT4 races over the years in Macau with success, and done quite a bit of racing in Europe because he started off in the German Volkswagen Polo Cup a good few years back, did Kevin Tsai. The car he shares this year, Ben Green, who is another very, very quick British driver. He's been a GT4 champion in Germany. Whatever you've seen him in GT3, whether it's been in Europe, whether it's been in Asia, now Britain, he flies.
He really does, and platinum rated. That's how highly the FIA think of him. So, yeah, quick driver. I remember him in British GT in GT4.
A little bit of debris on Hackney Straight. Do we worry about that?
No, I actually think that was just a sticker off a tyre. It just, when the tyre goes out, it has a foil sticker on. Some teams take them off, some don't. The way it flicked up, you're right to spot it, but it seemed to dissipate like it didn't have too much mass behind it.
Which is the good news. Checkered flag is out then, so warm-up at an end. Ben Green getting a bit toey, coming into Club Corner. It's getting the car slightly unsettled as he chases on behind the Darren Lund, Dan Harper BMW. Darren Lund has rather commandeered that for the morning, which is understandable. Give the AM the track time.
Yeah, exactly. As we see the three-car Patterson boxing, they're fastest in this session. You can see how nervous the car is all the way up to the pit lane, but you can do whatever speed you want until you get to that white line. So there's time game there. Always remember the huge shunt that David Ashburn had here in a track speed Porsche. I was in the team that year. It was phenomenal. They were only pitting as well because the other two track speed cars had hit each other on track and caused a safety car. So that was a funny weekend.
Not for the finance department necessarily, but you're right, it was one of the big quirks of the championship that year. 24 BMW in GT4 is the car that is Jack Collins and Brandon Templeton. Back for another season is Brandon, and going out of the fast right of Abbey now up through Farm. GT4 this morning being topped by the Porsche Cayman, interestingly, of Tom Bradshaw, who's having his first British GT season, and he's a very quick driver, one to watch most definitely, and that's a Pro-Am entry rather than a silver, so he doesn't have to worry about the extra 18 seconds, 6 per pit stop.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, that, doesn't it, when you think about where cars would be on circuit. That's from the start line, pretty much the start of Maggotts and Beckett, so a good 350 metres or so, I guess. So let's see how it pans out. Changes massively that pit stop compensation time with a safety car, depending on which side of the window that may fall.
And there is the Tom Bradshaw Porsche in its pseudo early 80s tobacco works colour scheme. And Tom Bradshaw, as I say, winner of last year's Sprint Challenge, but he's also been a Northwest Formula Ford champion, raced in the Formula Parma Audi single-seater series many years ago, and has raced with his father, John, in historic sports cars with great success, and historic Grand Prix cars as well. So very versatile driver is Tom, whether it's got a roof on, whether it's ancient or modern, as it were, he can still deliver.
Yeah, and there's our fastest car from warm-up now in the garage. Just checking underneath, maybe the driver's reported a curb strike, just checking that splitter to make sure everything's A-OK.
So at the end of the warm-up, it is the Garnet Patterson McLaren that is the fastest, and that's also fastest in Silver Am. Phil Keane and Ian Loggy quickest in Pro-Am. In GT4, Pro-Am topped by Tom Bradshaw with Ian Duggan's help. And in the Silvers, it's Luca Hopkinson and Josh Stanton, McLaren number 59. This is not your grid order. This is purely the time set in that warm-up. For some on old tyres, for some on a heavy fuel load, others on a lighter, some thinking about a time, some thinking about pit stop processes. But it's McLaren topping the times for what they're worth this morning from Lamborghini, then BMW, and then fourth Mercedes AMG ahead of BMW and Mercedes AMG as the top 6. It is going to be a 3-hour race then this afternoon that we have as the opening round of British GT for 2026. We'll be on air a little before that with the build-up to what promises to be a really good race indeed. So there, number 3, McLaren, Garnet Patterson, who is fastest. You may have spotted a number of the cars in the session carrying stickers in tribute to Jules Battendale, who was a very highly respected pit lane manager. Jules sadly passed away just around Easter weekend, and his widow Rachel here still fulfilling her pit lane duties. And earlier on in the day, the pit lane came together to remember Jules. He had been a marshal, he had been a scrutineer, and then, as I say, he became British GT's pit lane manager. He was much in demand as well, because he and Rachel went and served at some GT World Challenge Europe events last year as well. And teams, marshals, SRO officials all came together this morning to remember a much missed member of the British GT family, Jules Battendale. Round one of British GT will blast off at 1 o'clock this afternoon. It promises to be a fantastic start to the season. We'll see you later. For now, from Silverstone, bye-bye.